Good morning. This is Isolde Trachtenberg. Happy to welcome you to today's mini Creative Mindset podcast. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's stunning out here today. The sky's blue, no clouds in sight. I feel like I should start singing on a clear day. You can see forever. As you can tell, I have very little voice right now. That's one of the things that happens when you do a lot of gigs in the cold, which I've been doing a lot of recently, is your voice goes, yeah, if you don't rest me, I'm going to remind you why you need to rest me. But that made me think of something this morning. It made me think of what we do, A, to care for ourselves, and B, to do the work we love. Now, for me, it has taken a really long journey to get to a place where I think to myself, yes, I am primarily a creative person. I have other skills. I have the ability to teach, certainly, but primarily I'm creative. And what's weird about that is that, like, when I teach creatively. In fact, I remember one evaluation I got for my environmental education work at NASA was, that is Isolde, she's a performer with a message, which I thought was lovely and appropriate. But again, it took me decades to get to the point where I was comfortable saying that I am primarily an artist. And I wonder why it takes so long. Why did it take me so long to get to a place where I went, you know what? Admit it to yourself. Finally, this is who you are. Because people have been telling me, oh, my stars, you're so creative most of my life. But I was not in a place to see that. And so some of this revolution of moving to New York from D.C. and finally living in the city of my heart and beginning so many new ventures and adventures. Stand-up comedy, people. I'm doing stand-up comedy. Who would have thought? And I'm about to start this scripted podcast. Also, who would have thought? And I woke up this morning dreaming about the musical that I have almost written that I need to finish, that I want to finish. And a lot of those dreams got put on hold for a long time while I did more, or I should say less creative work, maybe. And now I'm in a position where I can't imagine doing anything else. So there's that. But for a long time, I behaved as if I weren't an artist, as if I wasn't one. And that is interesting, isn't it? How even when you know deep down who you are, sometimes you'll lie to yourself. No one can lie to you like you can lie to yourself. That is for sure. So the question I have for you this morning, on this bright, beautiful morning, is, are you being honest with yourself? Or are you behaving as if you are someone you're not? Yikes, that's a hard one, isn't it? Are you behaving as if you are someone you're actually not? I was behaving as if I was someone who didn't have to be creative, who wasn't creative. I didn't label myself an artist. In fact, whenever anybody said that, I wanted to run away from it not because I got messages that I shouldn't be an artist. I didn't get messages when I was growing up about much of anything except for make money. And no, that's not true. My father, get this, my father offered to pay for my full 4 years at the University of Michigan if I went into computer engineering. Now, if you know me, you know that I can use computers, and I used to do tech support, but the very idea of me being able to program is laughable. So, yeah, no, that would never happen. But the point is that in my own self, I had trouble reconciling the word artist with my identity, with my view of myself. So this is a long-winded way of saying that it takes some honesty and it takes some evaluation to figure out who you really are and what you really want. And so I'm going to invite you to try this. This is an exercise that I have created. It's called Need, Want, Accept, and Dealbreakers. And instead of going, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, you don't have to say I'm an artist or I'm an accountant or I'm a lawyer or I'm a teacher or I'm a marine biologist. Instead, think about what you need to be doing in order to feel happy, what you want to be doing in order to feel happy, what you'll accept doing and still be happy about it, or at least somewhat, and what are your deal breakers. So get a piece of paper. If you're interested in this, if you're interested in trying it, get a piece of paper and write out those phrases on one sheet, what I need, then below that, way below that, what I want, then way below that, what I'm willing to accept, and way below that, deal breakers. And then write out for yourself, what do I need to do with my life in order to be happy? For me, one of the things I need to do is inspire others to be creative. Another thing I need to do as much as possible is work on behalf of the earth and the animals. So as much as possible, for example, my music has always related back to building world community and the environment and animals. So that's a thing. What I want is opportunity to travel whenever I can. Well, the life of a musician certainly affords me that. I've been traveling a lot between New York and DC. In fact, right now I'm sitting in a Greenbelt, Maryland parking lot after just having my coffee so that I can actually make some sense this early in the morning. But what I want is to travel, to see new places, to meet new people, to experience this great big beautiful blue marble as much as possible. What I'm willing to accept, frankly, for me, low pay. I'm willing to accept never having a lot of money. That's not a problem for me. Money is one of those things where, in part because I don't have children, I don't need that much. I need enough to live in New York, which is an expensive city, of course, but I don't have that many other debts, right? I have no other real substantive debts, and I don't have to save for college. So I set my life up in a way that, yeah, I can accept not making a ton of money. Enough to live on and perhaps to travel would be great. But the rest, it's not a problem for me. Deal breakers. Now, my deal breakers are cruelty to animals or other defenseless beings. That's a deal breaker for me. I can't do that. In fact, a couple of years ago, I got offered the opportunity to do a really amazing communication workshop with a company, and they were going to pay me so much money to do this workshop. 2-day workshop that would have made me cajillions, really. And I was all set to do it, but then something made me go, let me find out who this company is and what they do. Well, it turns out that as part of their process of doing their work, they test on animals. And that is a deal breaker for me. I will never work with a company that tests on animals. I am plant-based, or as I like to call it, plant-powered. I'm vegan. I don't believe in cruelty to animals. I don't use products that were tested on animals. So how could I, in good conscience, do a workshop with a company that tests on animals? So that's a deal breaker for me. And I had to make my decision based on that. I couldn't work with that company because they didn't violate it. The situation violated one of my deal breakers. So knowing that about myself, having made that list, what I need to do, what I want to do, what I'm willing to accept, and deal breakers, made it a lot easier for me to keep honing in to what I'm supposed to be doing on this planet. And this last part, the being an artist part, is interesting because that was a tough one for me. It was really challenging to get to a place where I went, yes, I do need to be creative. Now, I've just celebrated writing and releasing my 6th book. Books 7, 8, and 9 are not too far behind. So that's part of it. But part of being creative for me is creating new art. And it's never going to be 2-dimensional art because that isn't in my skill set. But I have a musical I want to write. I have things I want to direct. And by the way, I love directing. So look for that coming soon, that I'm going to direct. The scripted podcast is going to be happening based on my book, The Arbiter. So bringing new art into the world, art that says something from my deepest self, is one of my needs now. And I denied it for a long time. And then once I moved to New York, the stage was set for me to finally accept it. And I gotta tell you, boy, am I happier having accepted who I really am. I'm an artistic person who's lived in the body of an environmental educator for a long time, which is why I was a, quote, performer with a message, unquote. And it's important for all of us, I think, to do that. And I get it. I get that there are bills to pay and there's all of that stuff. But if you know more about what your needs are in your profession, what your wants, what your deal breakers are, you can keep sort of funneling, guiding, course correcting towards that job that you want and really need to be doing in order to feel fulfilled in your professional life. So even as you're working to pay the bills, because I totally understand we all have bills to pay, you can keep asking for more of the kinds of responsibilities that fill that grid for you. Do you see what I mean? I mean, that's the thing, is that it doesn't have to be a take this job and shove it, I'm going to go create ice creams for a living, because that's my deepest desire. That isn't always possible. Rather, what if you were to keep gearing yourself towards that, as I said, course correcting towards the point where eventually you might be inventing ice cream flavors for Ben and Jerry's. I don't know. It's possible, right? So I invite you to make that list, and I'll probably put something in the show notes in the next couple of days just so that you have a little PDF to fill it out with. And fill that out for yourself and see where it takes you. All right. This is Isolde Trachtenberg, and I send you all of my love. Oh, and by the way, if you like what you're hearing, please consider leaving a review for the podcast, and also please subscribe. The more people who subscribe, the more information we can exchange and learn from one another, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.